The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we are back after a little longer than we planned hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Moving is a lot of work. Just in case you didn't know that, I'm here to tell you, which I'm sure you know, because if you're like us, you've had to move like half a dozen times. Mm-hmm. But we have moved. We have partially unpacked.
Mm-hmm. We're in a new room.
We are in a new room. There's a small collection of boxes that you can't see off camera.
That's right. That's the magic of film.
And there's a really heavy breathing corgi right behind me. So if I start to laugh, it's just because I'm like, he's breathing in my ear like a creeper.
Mm-hmm. Pretend whatever I said was really funny.
Just in general.
Exactly.
Every time I'm laughing.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it's serious? I don't want people to think I'm like laughing when you're like saying something like legitimate.
How horrible.
Exactly. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yes, and we're going to, because the rest of this month is also going to be crazy, we're switching to every other week. So we won't have an episode next week, but we will the week after. So thank you for bearing with us.
Yes, we love you and we appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do love you and appreciate you. That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
But we can get into the cast this week.
Did you need to be told that you're loved and appreciated? You seemed very...
No, it was just like, oh, I should say that. You know, it's like one of those things like it's like your reminder to be grateful.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to express like your gratitude for others.
You don't do your daily gratitude practice? Mm-hmm. Everyone should list 3 things they're grateful for right now.
That's right. And then 5 things that you can see.
That's only if you're having a panic attack or you just want to calm yourself down.
That's right. But yeah, gratitude is very important.
Wow. White man discovers gratitude. It's a good thing you have a microphone.
This is the content.
I bet you missed us.
Okay, well, let's talk about this white man. who plays
transition.
Woohoo! Smooth as hell.
White men.
So Darren Mann plays Luke Chalfant.
I didn't know Luke had a last name.
Chalfant?
I didn't.
Chalfant.
I didn't know he had a last name.
I didn't either. What was it was the Good Hang with Amy Poehler that you listened to with the guy who created Parks and Rec, right? Mm-hmm. Who had characters, names for everybody? Yeah,
he thought every character deserved a name. And so the rules of writing character names in television, I guess, according to him, is that you either have to use a name that's super generic, so like John Smith, or you have to use a name that like nobody has, because that way then you can't be like accused of like, you know, speaking about someone or spreading misinformation about someone or things like that. So, he liked to come up with fake names. And so he plays in the arena of names nobody has, which is why when you read like the credits on Parks and Rec or anything he's involved, you're like, oh my God, who are these characters?
It's a really good bit.
Leslie Knope is like 10 out of 10 of a name though.
It is a really good name.
Leslie Knope.
Mm-hmm. Nope. It is perfect. So Darren Mann. He was also Jack Dutton in 1923, which was the Yellowstone spinoff. The big Paramount Plus TV show.
Not the Disney restaurant on the Disney cruise lines on the new ships.
Exactly.
I was like, 1923 sounds familiar. I ate a steak there.
You're like, wait a minute. You're like, I'm hungry. He was also in 3 episodes of Wayward Pines. Do you remember Wayward Pines? We only watched the first season. He was in the second season.
Was that the one where the people all were kidnapped?
Yes.
Spoiler alert. And then there were blue people on the other side of the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you didn't give away the biggest spoiler.
Which is that they'd done it multiple times.
Skip ahead about like 20 seconds here.
If you haven't seen a show that's 10 years old, that's on you.
Oh my God, 10 years old. That makes me feel so old.
We were watching that before, like, we legally live together.
Yeah. God.
I make it sound like we illegally cohabitated. I just mean that, like, I was staying with you a lot, but I wasn't on
Actually, the illegal, exactly, yeah.
I had my own apartment.
In the eyes of the realty company. No, that it was in the future.
Yeah.
And then it's because it kept, in the first season, it keeps flashing back to his family, like, because he went missing, but it's actually, he got in a car accident and then they cryogenically froze him.
Yep, and then they keep like waking him up and doing it all over again. But then everyone who wasn't inside their weird little not utopia is a blue person now.
Yes, but not like Avatar blue people, like zombie blue people.
I don't know. It felt a little Avatar blue people-y.
They tried to they were like mindless and attacking the fence.
I didn't think they were mindless. I thought they were just trying to get in.
Oh, I don't remember this one.
I don't remember either. I also, can't say that I think much about Avatar either. So like, could be
Fair
wrong.
Enough. But then he's also in 3 episodes of the 100 in different one-off roles.
Oh.
Yeah. Continuing theme.
Love that for him.
All right. Tommy Kinkle, the man of the hour, played by Justin Dobies. He's also a stunt performer. So was a stunt performer in Obi-Wan. Just generally labeled stunts in IMDb for Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and was the stunt office coordinator in Blue Beetle, so probably kind of doing more the people management side for that, but I'm like, oh, that's super interesting.
Do you think he's small enough to be like a stunt double for like a Spider-Man, or do you think he's like bigger characters?
That does see. Yeah, you could see Tom Holland there, couldn't you?
Yeah, like the body language and stuff.
Oh, I bet you're right. And then was in 2 episodes of Broad City as Josh. Don't remember that. And then
I should rewatch that show.
Yeah.
I think about that show a lot.
It's a great show.
I also weirdly think about Wayward Pines a lot. Because I was like, what the hell? And The Leftovers, which I didn't even watch.
Great show.
You watched it and I passively watched.
Yeah, heart-wrenching show.
Yeah.
Just a show about people being incredibly sad for 3 seasons.
With like no conclusion.
There is actually more than you would think.
But I didn't think it was that good from what I remember.
I really liked it.
You liked the ending?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch it well enough to be like, I have like a deep opinion, but I feel like I remember being like, oh, that's it?
Yeah. Good, weird, mystical shit. And then a lot about faith. So, really, really spoke to me there. Christopher Eccleston is so good in this show. Anyways, and then Justin Dobies was also does some like acting work in the stunt thing. So did like 3 episodes of Obi-Wan.
Nice.
All right, so Reese Alexander plays James Walker, also later credited in part 2 as Thomas Walker. So they had a change.
Or was that like is that like a grandpa or something? Is that like a flashback?
I can't remember. That's a good question. Could be that. But what do we already know him from? Can you take a guess? Josie's dad. He's Miles McCoy in Riverdale.
No way.
Yes. He was also Coach Jenkins in The Descendants. Was in 1 episode of the Vanessa Morgan series Wild Cards, and small roles in the CW superhero shows Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow, and then in 2 episodes also of the 100.
Everyone's been in the 100 at this time.
I know. Exactly.
We're coming off a big 100 era.
All right, and then finally, Papa Kinkle is played by...
He really doesn't have a name, huh?
His name's Mr. Kinkle in the...
Yeah, but it's like there's no like...
First name Mr., last name Kinkle. His biggest role, it looked like, was Boone in The Revenant. Do you remember that movie? We didn't see it, but it was the guy who directed Birdman. It was like his follow-up about like Leonardo DiCaprio suffering in the wilderness.
Oh, I remember people talking about that. The one where he gets in the bear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was in that.
I know nothing about it, but I remember all the jokes.
Yes.
BuzzFeed loved that concept.
Oh,
and this was like I feel like towards the tail end of BuzzFeed,
of like BuzzFeed quizzes and things.
Exactly. Not the tail end of BuzzFeed. I mean, I think it's still around, but like BuzzFeed.
They gutted the newsroom, so.
But it was like.
That was a few years ago, too.
Peak like BuzzFeed listicle era.
Mm-hmm.
Where you were like, oh, people are turning out slop. But you know what? You know what I liked about that? People turning out slop. As they should.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's terrible.
And now we have machines doing it.
I can't
It's
believe
awful.
we're wistfully thinking of people turning out slop instead.
Yeah, because it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, half the shows we watch are people turning out slop. Let's be honest. Not this one.
There's careful slop put into PLL.
Oh, yeah. But it's a good heap and portion. I love it.
But he was also small roles in Fargo and Supernatural, but was also formerly a set dresser until about 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, so did set dressing for 50/50, which was the Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt cancer movie.
Oh, I remember that being a thing, and I didn't watch it because I was like in my sad girl era, and I was like, I don't need to be sadder.
I think I had it downloaded as a torrent, but I never watched it.
Huh.
Weird. And then his final credit as set dresser was Underworld Awakening, which I think was the 4th Underworld movie.
I didn't know there was one.
Underworld?
Yeah.
I've talked about Underworld.
Okay, well,
It's
unfortunately.
Kate Beckinsale in like tight leather pants fighting werewolves. I swear I've talked about this.
I'm sure
before.
you have. You know what happens sometimes with
Yeah.
movies.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I couldn't say they're like good movies, but like it's a B movie where Kate Beckinsale is in like tight pants killing like werewolves and things.
I see why
And
this
she's
would
a
stick
vampire.
with you. Oh,
Yeah.
she's a vampire?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that part.
So it's vampires versus werewolves, but the werewolves are
Is
called
this
lichens.
Pre-Twilight?
This isn't like it might be right before it. It's like in the soup. When was
Got ahead.
2003 is that first one.
Oh.
Oh my god. And then the Michael Sheen is also in that. He's one of the lichens. They're called lichens in that because the werewolves can change at will.
Yeah. I think that's like how the folklore works, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, yeah. So Michael
Or
Sheen,
like if not what our current folklore. I mean, there's so much out there. I don't know. I don't know if that's like from this movie that changed that concept. You know what I mean? Kind of like how vampires changed because of Twilight and like elves changed because of Tolkien.
I doubt Underworld was the first to do any of this.
But what really changed about vampires with Twilight is how Mormon they were.
That's right. They're not Mormon in this, but they do fight with guns.
Interesting.
And then the werewolves, the lichens, get UV bullets. And then they have silver bullets, the vampires. They made like 6 movies.
A UV bullet. This is a rich lore that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I know what we're doing with our free time.
Yeah, we can
have
watch all
so
of them.
much of it.
I only watched the first 2. I watched the first one 1,000,000 times, and then I think I saw the second one once, and I was like, that wasn't very good. But the reason I mentioned Michael Sheen is because he's also in
Twilight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
perfect.
I know. One time when I was still kind of doing my thing on TikTok, I posted a video where I had my hair back and I had red lipstick on, and someone told me I looked like him in Twilight in the comments. And when I looked up the picture, it was like, you know what? They're not wrong.
You're like, hey, he looks good.
I'm like, well,
Was he the
it's not a
Volturi?
drag if I feel good about it, right? Yeah,
You're
he's
like,
part of
hey.
the Volturi.
Yeah, he's like the leader of the Volturi, right?
Yes. I just blanked on his name. It's fine. It'll come back to me.
But yeah, you're like, thank you for the compliment. We're
Yeah.
both looking good.
I would love to.
All right. Well, that's the cast for this week.
Okay. What a journey.
Indeed. I can talk all day about Underworld. Not so much.
We don't really have vampires in this.
No. Mm-mm.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no vampires or werewolves, really.
No.
Just witches. And monsters.
And monsters.
Well, speaking of...
Hellhounds.
Yeah. We'll be getting to that soon, but first, Chapter 8, The Burial. Sabrina tells Ambrose about her date with Harvey that night. Ambrose says Luke's offered to get his conviction overturned because he has connections with the high priest. We start to look suspiciously at Luke. Zelda is looking for Hilda, and turns out she's busy working at Dr. C's. They get a phone call, and it turns out there was an accident at the mines. Sabrina rushes to the mines when there's a big crowd and medical responders helping miners out. Sabrina tries to find Harvey and eventually finds him with a big gash on his head, but he's okay. Tommy's still stuck in there, though, and he wants to go back in. Roz and Susie show up with food to help, and then Harvey goes back into the mines to find Tommy. Harvey comes out later, buys himself. Turns out the hole to get to the survivors is too small for him. Sabrina patches Harvey up away from the crowd, and she heads off to find a doctor because his hand needs stitches. A crowd gathers around the mines, and Roz runs over and is like, I can't find Susie. I wonder where the really small person went. Apparently, some kid slipped into the mines. Who could that be? She comes back. Susie comes back out and says he fit in the hole, and his aunt Dorothea told him to do it. All Susie found was a helmet. Papa Kinkle, PK, comes up, and Harvey realizes it's Tommy's helmet. Harvey wants to go back in.
Are they numbered? How do we know?
That's a good question.
I was like, were they numbered? Because I could see them numbering them. I don't know how mines work.
I don't either.
I mean, I know how, let me rephrase. I don't know how, like, the employment process and especially modern mine working works.
I don't either. I was kind of wondering also, it's like, do they have their, like, helmets decorated, like in Top Gun? It's got, like, goose on the side or something.
You see, like, I only know agriculture. Like, I don't know anything else.
Crop rotation.
Give me a nice cow. I can tell you what it is.
Did you see that post going around on Blue Sky yesterday? Because the department...
I need more than that.
It was some U.S. government department on like wasteful spending. Was like, oh, they spent this much money on like seed cultivation or something, and then everybody is just like, oh my god, they don't understand.
No,
that
I
they
didn't
need
see
this
it.
for like crop rotation.
Yep. No, I didn't see that, but that does not shock me.
No. Let's find out where it was. Oh. Harvey wants to go back in, but his dad says they need proper equipment to get in because like what they do now with their equipment would essentially just cause more debris to fall and would prevent them from getting in, and they have to pick it up tomorrow. He also tells everyone except rescue workers to go home, to which you were like, the firefighters are leaving.
Literally, the firefighters are like, yep, we're leaving. And I'm like, are you not a rescue worker?
Right, what are you doing? Later that night, Harvey tells Sabrina Tommy saved him by telling him to run. He feels like a coward. He says the tunnel somehow stayed open for him, but after it sounded like the earth was trying to swallow him up, Sabrina remembers putting the protection spell on him, and they go to sleep in the bed of his truck.
Which is very uncomfortable in most situations.
The next day, Sabrina comes home and finds Hilda coming home herself. She worked at Dr. C's all night to help with food and coffee for the workers. Zelda summons them inside. Ambrose says he astral projected into the mines and found no survivors. Sabrina wants to tell everyone, but Zelda says we can't tell mortals, and this is the bind of being a witch. Harvey wants to head back to the mines and find someone from the bank meeting with his dad in his living room, and PK decided to call off the search. Harvey goes to visit Sabrina, losing his mind about this because his dad wants to get insurances and payouts, and Harvey says he's coming over to rush the funeral so he can get the insurance check. At the academy, Nick is looking for Sabrina and asks the weird sisters, Agatha and Dorcas, and they say her mortal boyfriend's brother was in a tragic accident, and Prudence overhears. Sabrina asks Hilda what happens when people die. And then Hilda says she doesn't know what happens to mortals. Sabrina asks how Hilda is brought back every time after Zelda kills her, and Hilda's like, oh, we've got this like plot in the garden. It's the soil there that's supposedly from Cain's garden and is soaked with Abel's blood, so it brings witches back. She tells Sabrina never to try to bring a mortal back from the dead, and Cain's garden is only for witches. It's the funeral for Tommy, and Wardwell walks over to comfort Sabrina. I'd put this in quotes, but she's actually just there to comfort Sabrina. Mm-hmm. Sabrina tells her about the protection spell she put on Harvey, and she worries the weird sister collapsed the mines, and Wardwell's like, no, they probably didn't do that. The service happened.
It's like, have you met these girls? They definitely did it. Like, the fact that Prudence immediately is like, oh, it was them, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she's like, mm-hmm. The service starts. Harvey goes to give a eulogy, but is like stumbling over his words. So then Sabrina casts a spell on him to give him strength. He talks about Tommy being his best friend and that Tommy was selfish. PK then stands up and says Tommy was reunited with his mother in heaven and that Tommy loved the mines. And Harvey's like, no, he didn't love the mines. He only worked there because you forced him. And then PK gets in his face and they get in a physical altercation and knock over the casket, and Harvey runs off. Outside, Harvey blames himself for Tommy being dead. That morning, he found a Notre Dame acceptance letter from 3 years ago for Tommy, and Harvey thinks that Tommy stayed in town to protect him. PK comes outside and says, boy, it should have been you, and goes to wind up and hit him, but Zelda casts a spell to stop his arm and tells PK to get it together and leave. PK backs off, and Harvey runs off to be alone. I really love this scene.
Zelda's like she uses her hand, like it's a physical magic very much so, and so it's like she's holding him back.
Yeah, and she's like in the background of like everything, like far away from everybody, but she has such a commanding presence, like sitting up, like she's placed up on top of the steps of the Spellman house.
Is she on the steps of the Spellman house, or is she just higher up in the garden?
That could be it too. A higher place either way.
They filmed her up, so she has power.
Yeah, I really liked it. At Dr. C's, Wardwell and Sabrina talk, and Wardwell says, how will Harvey survive alone in that house? Sabrina asks for Wardwell's help with resurrecting Tommy, and Wardwell's like, oh my god, you can't do that. It's so dangerous. Don't do necromancy. But, like, you don't want to do that, and how could you even do that? You don't even have the spells. Well, I do have the spell book. It's really easy, actually. When you do it, you just follow the book. It's like instructions. It's like the simplest Lego set that you've ever done. I swear to God, it'll take you too far. But don't do it. It's so dangerous. You have to follow it step by step, but it's like super plain English.
It's like to me, though, like with spellcasting and all that, I'm like, this is like getting a recipe from your grandma. Like she for sure left something out.
It's like the Better Home and Garden recipe book.
And then it's like, well, grandma actually forgot to write down that she adds salt. And so you're like, why does this taste awful? And it's like, there's no salt.
Why did the spell backfire? Well, you didn't understand. She had an addendum.
Oh, well, you didn't do this? Well,
you're looking at the recipe card and you're like, what do you mean add salt? How much? And the spell requires someone to die for Tommy to live. Blackwood, the best thing I like about this show, that it playing into like the funny camp vibe, is that when it's very obvious when someone's reeling them in, except not to the character. Like Blackwood does it in the next episode. And it's, I really like, because it's like to the audience, it's like very farcical. And Wardwell does it every single time. Blackwood visits the Spellmans late. He's there to see Ambrose. Ambrose's CV is so good. He painted with a surrealist, taught magic to Houdini. And Ambrose says he then worked with Aleister Crowley, who was like his replacement father, and was the only and Ambrose was the only witch arrested for trying to blow up the Vatican. He took the ball so others could go free. Blackwood then says, "Give me the names, and you can have your freedom." Before Blackwood leaves, Zelda asks for satanic confession. Zelda worries about the state of the family and all the transgressions they made against the church, and says she's failing the church and him. Blackwood says, "I also know fear, and Lady Blackwood has forsaken me." So then they hook up.
My favorite thing she says, though, is, "I'm running a halfway house for wayward witches."
It is really good.
And I'm like, what a mouthful.
Susie is awoken by Dorothea. Dorothea says Susie is a very brave boy for going into the mines, and that was just the beginning. It's such a strange plotline.
I literally forgot about this plotline, and then when it started happening, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not the gender stuff, the Dorothea stuff.
No, the Dorothea stuff. Oh, yeah. Thank you for clarifying for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And clarifying my statement as well when I said weird plotline.
Yeah, it's the Dorothea, like, ghost.
And Dorothea, like, ooh, go into the mines. Ooh, steal a book.
Yeah, be risky.
What are these connections?
And, like, you're like, is Susie just having, like, everyone else is supernatural, but you're like, is Susie's, like, stress, like, getting to that? And, like...
Yeah, Susie, just having a break. Harvey ignores a call from Sabrina and lies in bed, sad. At school, Roz tells Sabrina when she picked up Tommy's hard hat at the funeral, she had a vision that she was in the mines and saw two creepy girls playing with dolls and smashing them with rocks. Sabrina then summons Prudence in the woods, and Sabrina tells her her sisters went after Harvey and Tommy, and she wants Tommy back, and that Prudence owes her for saving her from Lady Blackwood. Prudence and Sabrina go to the academy, and Sabrina confronts Agatha and Dorcas. They admit they did it and say Prudence has gone soft. Sabrina wants one of them to balance the scales, and Prudence chastises them for acting without her permission and asks who the mastermind was. Dorcas gives Agatha up and says she didn't even want to do it. Sabrina wants blood atonement tonight, and Nick overhears and wants to come along. Sabrina goes to school.
He's like, are we talking necromancy?
He's all excited.
As a student of necromancy. To which, once again, I go, okay, Nick, maybe you should have seen the issues in this plan.
Right.
This boy loves to let her make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. He's just willing to go along.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yet another reason that if you're watching this, you're like, I understand Harvey is going through a really bad time, and what Sabrina does to him isn't great. Like, you totally see why he'd be justified in being angry. And yet, Nick is putting stakes in witches' feet.
I love him. Well, he's putting stakes in their footprints.
Their footprints, yeah. Magical stakes.
Yeah.
Sabrina goes to the school and finds Wardwell's Book of the Dead and leaves. Wardwell then ominously steps out of the shadows and says, "The child takes another step." How long do you think she was there? The crew lead Agatha tied up out into the woods. Dorcas is freaking out and Prudence tells her to shut it. They catch the spell, which is chanting and then lots of sound effects. Sabrina then cuts Agatha's
they release the hellhounds and then they open the portal between the worlds. There's lots of sound effects.
Yes. They perform necromancy.
They perform a ritual.
Mm-hmm. Sabrina then cuts Agatha's throat. Wardwell watches from the woods. The crew takes Agatha's body to the plot outside the Spellmans, and Ambrose comes out yelling at her about necromancy. Sabrina's like, "I found a loophole. It's all good. We're going to resurrect Agatha in that plot over there in the cane pit." Ambrose says there's no cheating fate and that Sabrina crossed a line. Agatha crawls out of the grave, and Sabrina thinks she's got this all figured out, and Prudence tells Agatha to fall in line going forward. The next day, Hilda heads off to work while Zelda is oddly happy. Sabrina stares at the clock while she helps Roz with signs for the Wicca fundraiser. Sabrina asks about Roz's vision, and Roz tells her about the cunning and her family history. Spiritual, like the supernatural vision, not like, hey, can you see me? Blackwood meets with Ambrose asking for the names. Ambrose says he won't give up their names. Blackwood's like, "Well, I'm happy to hear that," and offers to lessen his sentence for allowing him to work at the academy, and they can work toward his pardon eventually. Kind of sounds like indentured servitude. Zelda asks to speaks to Blackwood in private and shows him a snail with 2 heads, and it's like, "This means the Dark Lord has given you 2 boys." She tries to kiss him, and he's like, "You forget yourself," and starts talking down to her about needing penance for her sins, and that they both succumb and need to be flagellated, and they'll suffer together, which he's into. It's just it's just this weird kinky thing that he was trying to bring her in on. Sabrina finds Harvey at school, and she tells him to not give up hope, but he's sad. Sabrina comes home and tells Ambrose nothing has happened with Tommy and that he wasn't where they performed the ritual, and Ambrose is like, "Well, the soul returns to the body." And Sabrina's like, "Oh my god, he's stuck in the mines." And she goes to the mines and finds that the boards closing up the mines are broken. Uh-oh. Harvey and PK have dinner when there's a banging at the door.
They have
Harvey
their sad TV dinners.
Yes, as they always do. And then they go to the answer to the door. The door. The end.
Okay, so a big theme in this episode is sibling relationships. So we have the weird sisters, and we have this pecking order, seniority, I'm in charge. Prudence starts saying things like my father, like very much playing into the power, which she already had over them, but like definitely exercising it even more. And also I think part of it is her acting out because she feels excluded because they did this without her.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
And I think in a way she feels excluded, and maybe they are excluding her because she saw them doing that together. So like, are they doing other things without her? And like, is she being ostracized, or at the same time, is she ostracizing them? Like I don't think, there's an innocent party in that scenario.
Oh, definitely not.
So we have the Prudence relationship. We have the Tommy and Harvey relationship. And then we still have the aftermath of the Hilda and Zelda relationship. And I think the funeral is a really good scene for it because we get Zelda and Ambrose are standing together, and Zelda's getting like teared up about Tommy and like people coming out and caring about Tommy, and like that this was a very sweet, good boy who took care of his brother kind of thing. And I think I interpret that scene as Zelda being like, I don't know how I would cope without my sibling after what Batty Bat did in the dreams and her killing her in the cane pit and all of that, and like how that keeps coming up. So I think it's Zelda kind of grappling with 2 sides of herself in this episode. Mm-hmm. You have like the Zelda that's still very much like, everyone in my home is a mess. The horrible people that I live with, while also being like, these are the people I care the most about and I love so much. And it plays into the next episode too. Like that theme continues for her. She really does get like a really good arc. I think like a lot of these shows, like adult characters, like their plot or their arc is just to like serve the young person. Mm-hmm. And in this one, it really is Zelda's own personal arc.
Yes. Like she's messy on her own terms.
Exactly. And Hilda as well in her own ways, but I really liked that they're showing Zelda being softer than she pretends to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea of like her really like looking at this sibling relationship and being like, oh, like this is like a very sweet, genuine, like loving relationship. And you kind of have that. And then you look at like the weird sisters who are almost more like Zelda and Hilda of old up until this point, where there's like this kind of like now a gap between them, or some sort of like weird energy, but also a power dynamic, but like who's in charge, but also like I will fight for you, you know, like, and we get that in the next episode. Like Prudence is like, no, this was supposed to be like this was not supposed to have any permanent repercussions.
Right. It was supposed to teach him a lesson.
Exactly.
The J. Walter Weatherman of spells.
And it's also interesting, like the characters that feel like they get to teach people a lesson.
Right.
You have Prudence, you have Zelda, you have Sabrina. I just think it's interesting, like the characters that are very much like, oh, I'm going to enforce like you need to be better. And then you kind of get Hilda in the next episode, but we can talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah, it's the people that think they're in charge, but then also feel like they can bend the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like Zelda's interpretation after, it's like, okay, I care about my family and I care about these people. And you said grappling with two sides of herself, which is the extremely faith-based. What do you call someone that's like super into religion? You know what I mean? Devout. Like a devout follower of the church at night. Like her reaction to this is like, I need to figure out how to get my family back in good graces because that's how I protect them with the church. And then it also, as things start getting going with Father Blackwood, it's similar to Sabrina. We'll talk about that in the next episode of like how much of this is self-serving. But because she's still upset with Hilda for not being part of the church and for going and working at Dr. C's like a mortal. Exactly. It's like, how could you do that? I didn't write that a lot in my notes, but a lot of these episodes, she's just like, oh, God, go
you and your mortal job.
Mm-hmm.
And like Hilda's enjoying, like she's living her own life. Hilda is finally doing things for her, or like getting to like have her own life outside of her sister's shadow.
Yeah, so she's like, yes, I'm having the time of my life here.
She's having fun.
Yeah. And I like my boss. He seems pretty cool. I don't know. Might be kind of interested.
The other thing I wanted to talk about in this episode is cheating fate. Like, I think that Ambrose says it really well. Is it in this one or the next one where he's like, you think that the rules don't apply to you? Like, is it?
That might be the next one.
But it's very much like you always feel like you have to like cheat fate. Like you always feel like you get to have the upper hand on like, sometimes this is just how things work. Like you're not going to always win, kind of is the energy. And I think it's really interesting and like really well done, because it's horrible to watch as a viewer because you know this is going to go bad, but like it's so important for Sabrina because she keeps doing things, and we'll talk about it more in the next episode too, but like she keeps doing things for Harvey, but like Harvey doesn't know she's doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next episode, people bring up like, did Harvey ask you to do that? You know, like why are you really doing this? And is it, like you said, like the selfish versus like altruistic kind of side of it? But she even like Sabrina is controlling in some ways, and she's used to getting to be in control. Like she can use her powers to protect Harvey, and she does. She puts a protection spell on him. She uses her powers to give him confidence and like, you know, like bravery when he's giving the speech at the funeral. Like she doesn't let Harvey suffer, and it's almost dehumanizing for him in a way. Like it's problematic. I mean, like if your partner is like not letting you like really like deal with things on your own, or like not even on your own, but like supporting you through things instead of trying to fix it for you, like that's really fucking annoying. Like I was complaining about this the other day because I was complaining to people, and I just wanted to bitch. And people kept trying to offer me solutions, and I was like, I don't want your fucking solutions. I want to bitch. If I wanted solutions, I would have said, help me solve this. I didn't say that. I said, let me tell you about my day. It's not the same. Like, and there's a difference. Yeah. And I think that Sabrina is not giving Harvey even the option to know that she is not just supporting him, that she's actively trying to manipulate things for him. And she's doing it from like a really sweet place. Like you feel bad for her. It's very young and misguided, but it's very misguided.
Yeah.
It's very problematic. It's, well, I want to fix this. I want to fix everything. And like, as a fixer, like you're going to run into things that you can't fix.
Mm-hmm. And as someone that is very powerful, like magic wise, right? She's able to do things very well. And she has been rewarded for thinking outside of the box and going against rules.
She has been able to, not make the rules apply to her. And I think it also highlights, like, it's a really good example of like the time and place. And I think you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but the time and place of where you get to bend the rules and where you don't. Mm-hmm. And so like other people signing your name in books and deciding who you were and who you're going to be, you get to put your foot down. You get to try to fight tooth and nail and maintain your independence. But manipulating situations so that your boyfriend doesn't ever suffer, not a good use of your power and time. Like it's not healthy. Mm-hmm. And her inability to let him suffer then causes suffering because you can't fix it all.
You're right. Absolutely. It's maybe I'll wait to follow up on that until the next episode. Because I have more thoughts on that subject and this kind of thing, but it might make more sense then. So
I also think the other thing I was thinking about, and this touches a little bit on the next episode, but I'll bring it up here because Zelda, they basically say, like, we don't get to interfere with mortals, right? And then Zelda interferes so that Mr. Kinkle can't hit Harvey.
Right.
And in the next episode, Hilda interferes so that those boys can't bully Susie. And I'm just like, it's using the time and place and like the appropriateness of it. And I would say that they were both in the right doing that. Like, I wouldn't say that was wrong. It also shows how like soft they are. And we knew that with Hilda, but like to see it with Zelda, you're like, Zelda is protecting this younger sibling when she couldn't protect her own younger sibling from herself. I just think it's a really nice, like, full circle kind of moment where it's like, well, his brother's not here to protect him. And I was the one who hurt my sister and I didn't protect her. So like, now let me protect this boy.
Right. Yeah.
All the rules go out the window too. When Harvey with the mind thing, Zelda's like, hurry over there. Like, go help. Like, go. Like,
right.
It's
no longer stay away.
It's no longer forget your mortal boyfriend. It's like, oh no. Like, how tragic.
Yeah.
These boys were, like, there was a mining accident, which I think also shows like the empathy of Zelda. Like, it's very different from like the like callous like woman she pretends to be at breakfast most of the time when she's reading her foreign newspapers.
Yeah, I think it's the next episode in the notes that I noted it. She's reading like I don't know the characters well enough, like by eyesight, to know whether it's Chinese or like a Japanese like newspaper. Mm-hmm. We've seen before that she was reading a Russian newspaper. Mm-hmm. I don't quite know what to make of it, but it's a great little bit.
She's getting foreign affairs from foreign papers.
Yeah, that's fair.
She wants to know what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. She's a highly educated woman with opinions.
That's right. She is.
Also, it shows how she's like partially interested in the mortals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or at least paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. She's keeping an eye out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And, oh, yeah. Maybe I'll save more for the next one.
Anything else you want to say on this one?
No, it's hard to watch the car crash. I think we mentioned that.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to watch because you know exactly where all of this is going. Mm-hmm. And you know it's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. But they do a really good job bringing you in. I think both these episodes are excellent. It's kind of like a two-parter. It
really is. And they're really good. I'm glad we ended up with them together.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that would have been brutal.
Because you're like, knock, knock, knock. Who's there?
Mm-hmm. But that's it then.
Okay.
All right, Chapter 9, The Returned Man. The Returned Boy. Turns out the knock on the door was just Sabrina. Oh, wait, never mind. It was actually Tommy originally because he's back. And Harvey's excited he survived. The doctor already checked him out, and he was like, oh, once the shock wears off, Tommy will start talking and eating again. That seems bad. Ambrose shows off his new clothes for starting at the academy tomorrow. Hilda and Ambrose wonder where Zelda is. Turns out Zelda and Father Blackwood are done with their kinky soiree. They apparently meet up in the witch's well to do this. Okay, interesting spot. bunch of ghosties are gonna watch you, I guess.
I don't think like the ghosties are actually there. I think that's like the whole harrowing thing is a
Because they just mess with you.
Yeah,
It was like
they mess
the
with you.
weird sisters doing it.
mm-hmm.
Blackwood acts like a true misogynist and talks about how no one is truly monogamous. And this is like one of those things when you hear like men talk about it, and you know it's not like the like good kind of like polyamorous where everybody's kind of like, in on it together, and they're like partnerships where they're kind of like they communicate with one another. No, this is the type of non-monogamy where a guy just wants to cheat on someone.
Well, and he's cheating on his wife.
Yes.
It's not real. It's just he's just having an affair.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, it's different.
We all know that. We all know these types of assholes. And then he asks Zelda to be the unholy godmother, aka night mother, to his kids, and also offers her Constance's classes at the academy. Sabrina tells Ambrose about Tommy, and he wants to tell the aunties. Sabrina says it'll be all good. Tommy will be back to normal soon. At the academy, all the witches, which is one of those things of like, okay, but what happens when they see Tommy?
Mm-hmm.
At the academy, all the witches say their goodnight prayers, and Prudence notices Agatha acting weird as hell and throwing up dirt, which she usually never does. Sabrina finds Nick her room, and he's astral projecting there to tell her that Agatha is really sick, and then he finds about Tommy being around. Sabrina notices as he's astral projecting there, all the psychopomps on the windowsill. Nick acts all jealous about Harvey, and they have a little flirtation. Sabrina sends Salem to keep watch on the Kinkle house. Harvey finds Tommy staring in the mirror and scratching at it. He leads Tommy to the couch and looks through old photo albums, and Tommy scratches at a photo of himself. Susie talks with Dorothea, and he's all excited about doing something that he would get grounded for, ? Susie's dad comes in and asks who he was talking to. Hilda gets a call that all the miners' bodies were recovered and will be brought by that day. Zelda is now... Oh, yeah, this is where she's reading the newspaper. And Zelda announces that she's actually working at the academy now. And all of the family is except for Hilda. Sabrina's just attending.
Mm-hmm.
Part-time. Sabrina goes to put Miss Wardwell's book back in her office and gets stopped by Miss Wardwell. And she's like, "Did you feel the dark vibes last night, Sabrina?" And it's like, "Well, if you needed to take my Book of the Dead, you don't have to steal it. You could just ask." And Sabrina's like, "No, I was actually going for this other book." Apparently, the entire school knows Tommy is alive. Roz is worried because she had a dream where she was in the woods and found dogs fighting over Tommy Kinkle's body. Like fighting over tearing apart Tommy Kinkle's body.
It was grody.
Sabrina tells Roz she's worried something's wrong with Tommy and thinks Roz can figure it out with her cunning. It's Ambrose's first day. He meets with Blackwood and Luke, and Blackwood offers him a familiar named Leviathan, who's a little mouse. So I was like, okay, wait, what is Leviathan again? So Leviathan is referenced in Hebrew Bible and is often the embodiment of chaos, threatening to eat the damned when their lives are over. But very funny that it's a little mouse. Blackwood says Luke has been helping him reform the coven, and Ambrose offers to help. Bunch of men colluding to reform the coven. After the meeting, Ambrose and Luke hook up in Blackwood's office. Perfect place to do it. You meet with your boss, and then might as well have sex in his office.
Well, he said to make themselves at home.
Oh, that's true. Prudence, Nick, and Dorcas come in. It's like, "Hey, where the hell is Father Blackwood? What are you two doing?" And something's wrong with Agatha. She threw up a turnip now. That's got to be so uncomfortable. Ambrose says he knows an expert on the cane pit. Hilda works Dr. C's while Susie steals a book. High schoolers come to bully Susie, and Hilda breaks them up and calls them out on their personal secrets. Hilda talks to Susie and wants to let Susie take the book, but Susie runs off. Turns out it was Orlando.
By Virginia Woolf.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hilda goes, "Oh, that Ginny Wolfe, she knew how to... Was it she knew how to throw a party?" Or
yes,
that?
Because what is it? It's is that a reference to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
What was is Orlando?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, satirical examination of gender and identity. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Hilda goes to see Agatha. She says if you come back too fast from the cane pit, you get something like the bends, and you just need a tonic. And then Ambrose talks to her alone. It's like, you just gave her said to have her fizzy water. It's like, I'm trying to keep him busy.
He's like, you prescribed her Alka-Seltzer
Yeah.
because she said have fizzy water and lemon.
Mm-hmm. And Hilda's like, the earth is owed a soul, and asks for details about how this happened. Sabrina and Roz find Tommy staring off at a tree, and Harvey's like, look at how weird this is, and throws a football at his head, and then Tommy immediately catches it, but doesn't react any other way. Harvey says all he does is react like a robot, which makes me think of, no, that'll give it away. But the movie The Guest. Do you remember that movie?
No.
Okay. It was the guy who played... Oh God, what's his name? He's the Beast in the live action Beauty and the Beast movie, but he was also in Legion.
Yeah.
It's gonna drive me nuts. I really like him. But he is a soldier that comes home to this small town, and everybody's like, "What?" He's giving off really weird vibes. That's kind of what.
I've seen this movie.
Yes.
Oh.
And and then things start to go bad. That's what Tommy kind of reminds me of this weird presence of everybody's just kind of thrown off by this guy. Harvey says all he does is react like a robot. Sabrina's like, hey, Harvey, why don't you go make him some soup? And then Roz cunnings Tommy and sees him in a foggy forest of trees. Here, she also hears a baby crying and runs into a hanged man. And then Roz lies to Sabrina that Tommy was alone there, but tells her about the baby. Papa Kinkle comes home and makes them leave.
But you left out that Roz sees, when Sabrina touches her, Roz in the vision turns around and sees Sabrina, but she's all like a ghosty monster thing.
I missed this. Probably writing notes. I missed that she sees Sabrina as the ghosty monster?
Yeah, right to the side of her.
Are you talking about the person with the noose?
The person to her left who's on the ground.
Of the noose?
Is she wearing a noose?
There's the person with the noose that comes up to Roz and touches Roz's shoulder, and then she comes back.
Yeah, but when Sabrina speaks, it comes out of her mouth.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's a witch. Because they were hung.
Right. Thank you. Sabrina, right over my head. Sabrina and Roz leave, and Sabrina notices Roz acting weird, but she doesn't tell her anything. Susie talks to Dorothea about how Hilda knew all the secrets about the bullies, and Dorothea's like, are the Spellmans still witches? They still doing that? Sabrina gets confronted by Hilda. She's upset Sabrina lied to her and did this. Sabrina says, I looked up what Roz saw, and it was limbo, and I need to get there to retrieve Tommy's soul. Apparently, there's 2 limbos, one for witches and humans. Sabrina's like, well, I can go to both because I'm half. Hilda says there's no fixing this. Ambrose asks for them to see something in the embalming room. Zelda conducts the choir, which they're singing Sound of Music. When Agatha comes in and faints, Blackwood then asks afterwards for what happened, and Prudence, Nick, Dorcas come clean. Blackwood takes out his anger on Zelda and she asks for a chance to make things right. Ambrose shows that the bodies all have bite marks in them. Right. Okay.
It's a ghoulish Sabrina. That's what the photos say on fandom or whatever.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. Perfect. I'm glad you called attention to that because I was like, I don't know, it's just a creepy figure. But that's why Roz makes a connection later.
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose shows that the bodies all have bite marks, and that the reason Tommy hasn't eaten is because he probably isn't hungry at the moment, and had already satiated his hunger. PK grills Tommy and gets in his face and says he's not actually Tommy, and Harvey tells him to stop, and PK hits Harvey, so then Tommy starts to choke PK. Sabrina comes up and finds Papa Kinkle running away, and is just like, don't go in there, as he takes off down the road. Sabrina comes up. Sabrina gives Harvey a jar of some sort of liquid to calm Tommy down, and later Harvey confesses that something is wrong with Tommy and wonders how he survived in the mines. Sabrina comes home and finds Zelda angry. Sabrina comes clean that she stole Miss Wardwell's Book of the Dead and defends herself, saying she undid Agatha and Dorcas's. Her main motivation for this was to undo what Agatha and Dorcas did, which was kill Tommy. She tells Zelda her plan, and Zelda shoots her down, saying they have no more standing with the church anymore, and she needs to back down. They continue to fight until Sabrina eventually says Zelda is not her mother, in which Hilda steps in to defend Zelda. Zelda says everything has a price. Edward learned that, and then tells Sabrina to not come to her when it all blows up. The family all leaves Sabrina alone, so she goes to Miss Wardwell for help. Wardwell says Limbo is haunted by a soul eater that devours all the souls it catches. Sabrina isn't deterred by this. Wardwell happens to just know a threshold that'll help Sabrina. Hilda finds Zelda self-flagellating and gets her to stop. Zelda says they should have let Diana's family take Sabrina in, and is like, it was my arrogance thinking I could raise her. You know, Hilda, I just can't say no to her. And then Hilda comforts her and says, you always say no to Sabrina. She just doesn't listen to you. It's really sweet and really funny.
Sweet. It's also great because you see like Hilda stopping Zelda from hurting herself. It's Hilda protecting Zelda. And so like you understand that every position Hilda has been in her life has been mostly to protect Zelda in a way, and protect Zelda's reputation or status or concerns about how she's viewed. And Hilda just doesn't get to do that. Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe it's just not who she is. You know what I mean? Or maybe she just has never gotten to. Right. I'm never going to be that person, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we play a little bit with that insecurity with the baddie bat and like the idea of like who she ends up with.
Yes. And that she also just didn't find the same, for whatever reason, she never found the same sort of calling or things as like Zelda. I mean, not for whatever reason.
The church was not, because she's not the perfect pious little worshiper. She's not playing by their rules all the time. She's like Sabrina. She thinks more outside of the box.
Yeah.
She wants to not hurt people. She doesn't think they need to be cruel.
And was also, ruthlessly bullied by people within the church at night.
Her sister included.
Blackwood tells Prudence and Dorcas to take care of Tommy. Nick overhears his orders from the other room. Prudence and Dorcas head for the Kinkle house, but get trapped by... I put magical bear traps, but that's not actually what it is, because Nick puts stakes in a witch's footprints, which traps them. And he's like, we're going to be staying here until the Spellmans handle all of this.
I love Nick. He's a Spellman's #1 fan.
Really is. Miss Wardwell leads Sabrina to this ominous wicker tunnel in the woods. She ties a string around Sabrina's arm to help pull her out when she's ready. Sabrina heads into the portal and she sees lots of figures walking around a foggy landscape but no Tommy. She runs into her mom, who doesn't actually believe it's Sabrina, and Diana says they took her baby after the baptism, but then they're interrupted by the sound of the Soul Eater, and Diana runs away, so Sabrina runs off too. She runs into Tommy and grabs him. Sabrina tries to get Miss Wardwell to bring her out, but the string gets cut. Sabrina instead uses her own magic to try and bring her and Tommy back through, but when she goes through the portal, she finds that Tommy disintegrates. And then Miss Wardwell was like, I hate to say it, but that kind of looks like the Soul Eater got him. And then she tells Sabrina that she needs to tell Harvey about herself and fix things. Sabrina heads off, and Miss Wardwell tells Stolas that her tie to the mortal realm, aka Harvey, will finally be severed. Roz tells Susie about the cunning being true and thinks she saw that Sabrina is a witch. And Susie's like, well, I think all of the Spellmans are witches. And then it's like, according to my Aunt Dorothea, my great aunt or Dorothea's diaries, they wonder if Sabrina is dangerous / evil. Sabrina visits Harvey and tells him about being a witch and bringing Tommy back. Harvey realizes she told him about this before. She tells him that it's not really Tommy and her spell went wrong and she needs to put Tommy back in the ground. Harvey is resistant at first but comes around because he realizes that Tommy is in fact acting really weird and wants to take care of Tommy himself. He tells Sabrina she has to go and doesn't want to talk to her for a while. Sabrina then leaves, and Sir Harvey grabs his dad's rifle. As Sabrina leaves, she hears the gunshot. Sabrina comes home and finds Zelda on the porch. Sabrina breaks down crying, and Zelda comforts her. The end.
So I want to start with the Harvey thing, because Harvey couldn't / wouldn't kill the familiar, the deer. He couldn't do it. And Harvey has to shoot his brother. He decides he has to be the one to shoot his brother.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such good character writing. Obviously, awful plot. Like, I mean, not awful isn't bad, but like a horrific story.
Yeah,
but
totally.
It's so well done. It's like just such a good twist of the knife.
Right.
Especially to make you feel like you don't feel like Sabrina's the villain, but you don't feel like Harvey deserves it either.
No.
And I think
Harvey's not wrong.
I think that's a great way to have characters break up or grow distant without doing the miscommunication trope, without doing this whole like fighting or making one of them do something really out of character or really cruel intentionally. Like, it's just people royally fucking up. Well, one person, and then another person grappling with that.
Yeah. And like Ambrose says, like Sabrina crosses the line in more ways than one. And for like, that's extremely traumatizing for what Harvey has to go through. So you understand why Harvey would be like, I need some distance, because while he can understand that she tried to do it for good reasons, that's a huge thing to have to deal with.
Exactly. It's also like visually, I really enjoy that Wardwell ties a red string to her and sends her into the fog. And like when that red string gets cut, her relationship with Harvey is like, that's the end. It's over. And like there's all the like folklore and like mythology and different stories of like couples having some sort of like red string to tie them together, you know, like a string that connects them. And so it's like, well, this, or even if you don't want to play with that, like the last thing tying her to the mortal realm, like if you want to play with it more like that way. But I thought that was really good and like visually really good.
That's a good one.
I also really enjoyed the Diana aspect of it and like her seeing her mom and that her mom is in limbo. And I do wonder, like, is this limbo real?
Right.
How powerful is Wardwell? Like, is this all real? Is this all not real? I would assume it's real because Roz is having visions, but you know.
Yeah, because it matches Roz's vision.
But also, would Wardwell know limbo? You know what I mean? I don't know. But the character behaviors match too. So then, you know, would Wardwell have known Tommy well enough to be able to do that? Like,
yeah. And it makes you wonder what is the background then for Diana and her family, because she mentioned,
I had you baptized. So was Diana not baptized?
Exactly. And the only unborn or unbaptized babies end up in limbo.
And lost souls, right?
Yeah, or sorry, but she in reference to Sabrina, she says only unbaptized children end up in limbo.
But so Tommy's there.
So
are we assuming
I'm assuming Tommy's not.
Or is that because Tommy's like lost because his soul and his body aren't connected? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm just going off of like her specific thing of like, you can't be here
because I had you baptized. Totally. I also think it's interesting because Diana is the goddess of the hunt. I think it's like the counter to Artemis. I'm pretty sure.
In Roman. Got it.
Goddess of the hunt, wild animals, moon, childbirth, fertility. That seems right. Yeah, Artemis is goddess of the hunt, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought that was like I'm like, oh, like the goddess of like childbirth, fertility, like, you know, like it's her mom. Also, this is the worst week of Harvey's life.
Oh my God, yeah.
This poor boy is having a bad week. I think Sabrina assuming what Harvey wants is like the really, truly problematic part of this. And multiple people pointed out to her, and her aunt is like, oh, did Harvey ask you to do that? Like, knowing that he doesn't know she's a witch. And it's like, did Harvey request this? Like, you're making decisions for him?
Even Nick kind of like pokes at it too.
Yes, exactly. Nick was the other one who pokes at it. And he's like, oh, does he know what you're doing for him? Oh, he doesn't know. Does he appreciate it? Like, he can't appreciate it. He doesn't know. It's very... I think it's really good because I think it's pushing her... I think Nick particularly is pushing her, you know, he wants to push her more towards Church of Night world, where he is.
Exactly.
But I think...
Oh, whoops, that's where I'm at.
Having this come from multiple people is obviously very important. It's obviously a very important thing they wanted us to take away. Where it's like, you're making choices you're taking away someone else's autonomy when your big thing is to protect people's autonomy.
Right.
You protected your own autonomy so fiercely, you have your own rules. You are in Wicca and you're helping these girls protect their autonomy and like feel safe at school, and yet you will not, and I hate to make a white man a victim, but you will not, you're taking away the autonomy from Harvey. You're taking away his choices.
Yeah. It can work. It can work both ways.
Also, Harvey takes this news like a champ.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'll shoot him. I'm like, what the fuck? If you came to me and you said your brother is a zombie because I did a ritual that went very wrong and all of that, I would be like, what do you mean? Like, and I know, like, he saw a devil in the mines and...
his brother came out of the mines.
Yeah, weird.
And he realizes that he'd heard it before too.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, but I'm also just like, this boy's a chiller.
Right. But I think because it's kind of playing with like when you like trying to hold on to someone, like almost like taking care of like a really sick family member and knowing like when it's time to let go. Like he understands that Tommy's
not going to get better.
Exactly. Tommy's not eating. He's not interacting with them, and nothing is changing. Like Tommy is not himself, and he's not living a life. Like so, when he comes to that, when he makes that switch, it makes sense because he's like, yeah, I can see it too. I'm not blind to this, but I don't want to believe it.
Exactly. The other thing I will say that I find really interesting about the Tommy thing is Tommy is all instincts without his soul. So he catches the ball and he protects Harvey.
Yeah.
And so his instinct is to protect Harvey. Like that's so ingrained in him that it is in his body without his soul, like without his consciousness.
Yeah. And it's really tragic, like Tommy passing away. Of like this kid who was extremely
altruistic.
Selfless.
Yeah.
And was from an abusive home, so stuck around to protect his little brother, knew he couldn't leave his little brother on his own at 18. He's making that decision. Heartbreaking.
Very much so. The other thing I really enjoy about this episode, one, is that no one coddles Sabrina. Like even Hilda is like, you did the one thing I told you not to do. But then at the very end, once she's done it, Zelda's there.
Yeah. And
I just think that's such a good example when she's like, you're not my mom, which is so mean and cold. And Hilda interferes because she's like, you do not speak to your aunt that way. But then who's the person she comes crying to at the very end?
Yeah.
And so it's like Zelda really is her mom.
Exactly.
I mean, Hilda's also her,
Yeah.
But
different coins there.
I thought that was really good. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, of connecting back. It's like she is that mother figure and that caring person. And Sabrina realizing that after she pushes him away.
The other thing I want to talk about quickly is the Roz and Susie of it. So Roz is like, I'm having these visions, and Susie's like, yeah, I read it in my Aunt Dorothea's journal. And I'm like, just tell her you're talking to your dead aunt.
Right.
Everyone is sharing their weird secrets. And I understand that you feel scared because you're hiding your true identity. But tell her about your ghost. I mean, in this town?
Right.
Your uncle was possessed like last week.
Your friend just told you that she can see visions.
And she thinks your other friend is a witch.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so the thing I wanted to talk about related to these two episodes, I think is extremely compelling. You see a lot in, I think, YA of like understanding responsibilities. So one of like, how do you take care of people without like, honoring their wishes and like being there for them. So like we were talking about with Harvey, not like overly stepping there. But I think like in the context of using like magical powers and things, it's like, okay, I have this ability that enables me to to do things that are outside of like normal human beings, like regular capabilities. What are the limits that I can work in to try and like help or change things around me? What are the rules in place that make sense, and what are just societally reinforced? And like that's growing up also, of like trying to figure out, it's like, okay, well, what is like the stupid rules that society is enforcing on me, and what are the rules that like, oh, actually you should be kind to one another. Maybe like the people that say I shouldn't dress like a certain way are dumb, like as a
totally, it's
as
like
different dichotomy there.
Yeah, I remember being a little kid and being like, okay, but there's like the rules in real life and the rules in church are different. And it's like, if you're not supposed to hurt your neighbor, but then like if there's a law that tells me I have to hurt my neighbor, like how do you decide what rule? Like I remember sitting in church as a small child having these philosophical
right
breakdowns quietly, of course. I was not going to make a scene.
Right. So then you get like a hero story. This is Spider-Man. This is Uncle Ben telling Spider-Man on his deathbed in the movies of like great power, great responsibility, right?
Mhm.
It's like how do you use your power well to good aims? And I think with magic, that's really fun because it can play with these like larger things of like life and death. And so I think this does a good job of being like shot chaser of like, here is a line that you cannot cross, even though you've been crossing lines and like things have been like kind of working out for you, even though we know in the background from watching the show, it's actually not because it's part of this like Dark Lord's plan. But here are things that you can't cross and you can't fix and that you just have to live with and you have to work through. This makes me also think a lot of the manga that I'm going to look at in my left here, Witch Hat Atelier, which is all about this. Like that's what it's every kind of volume, every kind of like arc is about, it's a little aged a little younger, but similarly of using like magic and things of like, what are the limits in which you're able to help people and what are the things that are societally reinforced around these things that prevent you from helping people.
And also, is your idea of helping people the correct way to help people?
Yes
Because obviously Sabrina thinks that bringing Tommy back will fix it for Harvey, but the truth is like you can't fix it. He's already been traumatized. His brother was already killed in the mines.
Exactly.
You can't undo trauma.
Right. Yes. 100%. So
for other people. I mean, you can work through your trauma, but you can't undo trauma.
Exactly. So you just like, right. The only thing that you can fix, you can't fix anything there. You just have to learn to like live with it.
You support people.
Yeah. So I think this was a really good couple episodes for that. They do a really good job with it.
I agree.
And I highly recommend reading Witch Hat Atelier if you're interested in that and you want to read some good manga. And is it beautiful art? Just absolutely beautiful art.
It is very pretty.
Yeah. I want to make sure get the author's name or the mangaka's name right real quick. But they're putting out a anime of it, I think, coming up soon. But I mean, it's not going to be as beautiful as just looking at the still images. So
it's not going to be as pretty.
Yeah.
Brenton's not going to like it as much.
Kamome Shirahama. So there you go. But yeah, that was it for me then.
Cool. Well,
you can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. You can also find us on YouTube where you can see our new office. It's so clean. It's like we're all unpacked and everything's all set up. By watching the video version at dead_ends on YouTube.
You mean the fact that nothing is hung up above or around my desk and there's papers all over it, that it's clean?
Yeah. You can also see the Venture Brothers book there too.
That's my monitor stand.
That's right.
It's the perfect height.
It is. It's a great book. And you should leave comments on YouTube. We like talking to people in the comments there. You can also send us an email if you have something you want us to talk about or you want to, something you want us to talk about.
Or you got opinions. You just want to share them.
Exactly. deadendspcast@gmail.com. We appreciate all your likes and subscribes and your ratings and reviews. That helps get us more listeners and things. So give us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. And you can also follow us on Blue Sky at dead-ends.
Mm-hmm. Well, not today, Satan.
Not today.
Did you remember what it was, or were you just waiting for me to do it?
I was like, okay, I had forgotten it first, and then I was like, how do we segue into it? So I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, we love you.
We love you.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you very much. So remember that.
And
do your gratitudes.
We'll see you. Yeah, do your 3 things you're grateful for until the next podcast. I want you to do it every day until the next podcast.
Yeah, we want to hear your gratitudes on the next one.
This is a self-help podcast now.
That's right.
We love you. Bye.